Yesterday, President Trump deployed the National Guard to restore order and to crack down on crime in Washington, D.C. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said today the impact is already being felt in our nation's capital.
Last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort.
Today, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser and D.C. Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith said they are here to work together to implement President Trump's directive. The president has also received the support of the D.C. Police Union, with the chairman releasing a statement to a local reporter reading, "We stand with the president in recognizing that Washington, D.C. cannot continue on this trajectory. Crime is out of control and our officers are stretched beyond their limits. The federal intervention is a critical stopgap. But the MPD needs proper staffing and support to thrive. This can only happen by repealing the disastrous policies that have driven out our best officers and hindered recruitment." I will say I have already noticed a change in the past 24 hours. Saw a strong police presence. I saw a police officer on a horse on my walk here from the White House. And I even went to the Eastern Market Trader Joe's last night, which usually has a lot of homeless people harassing people as they come out of the Trader Joe's. There were none. It was completely empty. Are you seeing a change already?
I think so. I think Union Station has looked better during the Trump administration, but today in particular, as I was passing by, I saw less tents outside, less encampments. This is a move in a positive direction for D.C. It's hard to deny that. And what's interesting to see here is Muriel Bowser, who kind of made herself as an anti-Trump icon in 2020 and 2019 in the late days of the first Trump administration. She's now saying that she's going to work with the president on this directive. And it's going to be interesting to see how Democrats, figures like Muriel Bowser, balance things that she thinks will benefit her community, a stronger police presence, lowering crime, et cetera, with the base's desire to really antagonize the Trump administration, to fight the Trump administration. Are you going to go the way of Adam Schiff, or are you going to go the way of Muriel Bowser?
It's going to be a real struggle for Muriel Bowser, I think. And she did actually provide a reasonable answer to a question or two. Yesterday, I was astonished by that. I couldn't quite believe it. But the homeless and the crime thing, this is a big deal in Washington, D.C., and it has been for a long time. And people that live here have been talking about it for a long time. And the solution that, the Democrats running the city of Washington came up with for the homeless people, we used to have an amazing St. Elizabeth's facility that was taken over by the Department of Homeland Security. But it was a mental institution, and John Hinckley was put in there. And crazy people wandering the streets with big knives would be put into this institution. And then we decided, they closed down St. Elizabeth. Then we decided, well, we'll just take the mentally ill, drug-addicted homeless people and throw them out on the sidewalk, and they can stab and rob and terrorize people until they die, and then we'll come pick up their bodies. And that's literally what we decided to do, and not just in Washington, other cities too, with mentally ill, drug-addicted homeless people, is to throw them out on the street, let them fend for themselves, let them ruin whatever block they're on, whatever city they're in, and then when they die, we'll come by and get their bodies. I think we can do better than that.
You're right, Chris. It goes to show that making our nation's capital safe really should be a bipartisan issue, but unfortunately it isn't. While most of the leftist media refuse to acknowledge that crime is rampant in Washington, D.C., ABC News anchor Kyra Phillips made the admission while interviewing U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro.
I'm going to use a personal experience. I was jumped just 2 blocks here from the ABC Bureau. It was not a minor, though. No, hey, look, it's happened to a lot of people in our building, sadly. He was homeless and half-dressed, clearly wasn't in his clear mind. It was scary as hell, I'm not going to lie, but I fought back. I didn't see any weapons in his hands. I felt like it was my only choice.
And check out MSNBC's Joe Scarborough admitting that D.C. is a scary place to be, even as he criticizes President Trump's actions.
I don't care what the crime statistics say. Crime has been a problem in this city for the 32 years I've been living inside and outside of the city. It's just, even now, Meek and I we're talking to somebody who lives in the city. These are all Democrats who said, you know, our friends won't walk more than 3 blocks in D.C. at night.
Something I found ridiculous is a lot of these Democrats who are saying that D.C. is safe and pushing back on all this live in safe areas. Maybe they live in Georgetown. Maybe they live in Northern Virginia. And the reason they live in those places is because D.C. is dangerous. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, no, I don't think D.C. is as dangerous as it once was. We would agree, like even Chris and I yesterday, I think we agreed that, you know, in the 90s, you know, D.C. was a different place. Now, you know, we saw a little spike during the pandemic, but those numbers have fallen below pre-pandemic numbers. And actually right now, violent crime, as has been repeated many times, is at a 30-year low in Washington, D.C. Of course, we had the president come out and talk about cities like Baltimore and Chicago. And Baltimore, I can tell you, is going through a renaissance right now. It is literally has the lowest crime on record. And I've been in the city going in and out of Baltimore my entire life, went to school in Baltimore, and it has never felt safer. Like, that is where I go. And by the way, Baltimore has better restaurants than D.C.
There you go.
I think we always celebrate getting the city safer.
But what about the fact that over 100 people are being murdered in D.C., and the vast majority are young black men? That is not okay.
Yeah, no,
that is not okay.
And I don't think Mayor Bowser or any of the mayors that have been mentioned from those cities think that the job is done. They're not hanging the George Bush mission accomplished banner up. They're just saying, look, we're headed in the right direction. Our police are headed in the right direction. We have other diversion programs that seem to be working. And this is all about trends. And they have a year-long trend to point to of crime going downward, or 2 years actually, whereas you guys are talking about changes over 24 hours.
We can always get safer. We're always going to want to get safer. President Trump is taking his promise to make D.C. safe again to the next level. Next month, he's going to work with Congress to find permanent solutions. I asked Caroline Levitt about it at today's briefing.
The president is very much still interested in working with Congress to address many of the issues that have plagued Washington, D.C., such as the cashless bail policy, which has been a complete disaster for the city. Juvenile delinquency is another major problem in the city that Congress can address. So I know Congress is on recess right now. When they get back to work to Washington, this president looks forward to having these conversations with our friends on Capitol Hill.
So a little bit of background on this is the Constitution gives authority over D.C. to Congress, but Congress in 1973 delegated that to local officials. And this bill that I asked about, Senator Mike Lee introduced it, and it would take that authority back to Congress because they believe the local leadership of D.C. haven't done well enough. Bradley, you live in D.C. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think it's been interesting to see this tension unfold because I think everyone wants to see a safer D.C. That's first and foremost. But the second is there has been times in the past where Congress has had to step in and overrule the D.C. City Council, which is even farther to the left than Muriel Bowser, on laws such as criminalizing carjackings, etc. So if that's the type of movement we get from Congress, I think that would be a welcome sign from many people who have been victimized by violent crime in Washington, D.C.